So this video is about getting past painful symptoms. How do you get past painful symptoms? That's a very good question. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me last month, as a matter of fact. So some of you have probably experienced just back pain, pulling out your back. Depends on how people describe it. But basically what happened was I ended up having back spasms whenever it just came on all of a sudden whenever I was in the middle of Old Navy shopping for some clothes. I had been trying some clothes on, and all of a sudden, and I knew that I was upset. There were a lot of things happening at the time, but immediately, this back spasm started happening. It was horrible. It almost put me on the floor, but it was too painful to even sit down on the little bench in the dressing room. So anyway, I finally made my way out of there. My husband was probably wondering what the heck had happened to me because it took me so long to get out of there. So I made my way out of there, and it took me a long time to get into the vehicle. And that night, I did not sleep at all. I was so focused on the pain, and I know better than this, I know better than this, but I was experiencing so much pain that I wasn't getting past it. I wasn't remembering my tools. And it took me an hour to roll over one way. It took me another hour to roll back over the other way. And I think the next morning, it took me probably 40 minutes with my husband's help to get up out of bed. And then I knew I could not lie down during the day because it was like he was having to go to work, and I was thinking, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get up again. I'm not going to be able to do anything. So finally, after a while, it clicked in my brain. Use your tools. Use your tools. What was I doing? What was I doing the first day that it hit me, and that night? I was focusing on the pain, and I was fearful of it. Man, I was fearful of it. I was so freaked out about it. And I was just doing everything that I could to, I was frustrated with it. All of those 6 F's. Remember the 6 F's I've shared before? Well, I was doing all of those. And so finally it clicked in my brain, wait, we can't keep doing this. Because basically what we're doing while we're focusing on the pain and we're being so freaked out and afraid of the pain is it's just like pouring gasoline on a fire that you want to put out. It doesn't work that way. It is just the opposite, right? It makes it blow up. And that's what fear does. Fear gives power to the symptoms. Fear gives power to any symptoms or pain that you're experiencing. So don't fear it. Stop fearing it. I know that's hard. I'm not saying this is easy. Like I said, what I was dealing with was horrible. It was some of the worst pain I've ever had. But whenever I finally, remembered, okay, use your tools, I was sitting down on the couch and I started thinking, okay, how am I going to deal with this? I'm not going to fear it. And so I started speaking out loud to myself. Remember, it's so important to use our lips, to use our voices to speak what we want rather than what we might be experiencing. And so I spoke out loud. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Look at you. You're able to get up. You're able to move around. You're able to function the way that you need to function. You can do this. Oh, look at you. And while I was saying that, I was slowly getting up. And I'm not saying that the pain was totally gone. It took about a week before it was completely gone. But as I was speaking these things and as I was changing the way that I was thinking about them, the pain was dissipating very quickly. And it wasn't anything like it had been at all. Because I was choosing not to be afraid of it, and I was choosing not to focus on it, and I was giving myself messages of safety. Messages of safety are so important whenever you're dealing with severe symptoms, whenever you're dealing with that kind of pain. You're okay. Hey, I hear you. I know, but you're going to be all right. You can do this. I'm so proud of you. Think about how you would treat a little kid. And that's how you kind of have to talk to yourself to say, you can do this. you're okay, you're all right. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really helps and it works. So practicing, again, not doing those 6 F's, giving yourself messages of safety. And, sometimes, you do need to use avoidance behavior if it's really bad, but you can't stay there forever. Because if you continue to use avoidance behavior forever, you're never going to get well. You've got to teach your brain that you're in charge, that it's okay, that you're going to survive this, you're going to get through it. But those are really 2 of the best things that I can tell you, is to not go into the 6 F's and to definitely give yourself messages of safety, to speak positive things over yourself, to give yourself a little pep talks. You can do this. You're okay. You can do this. And, there are other things like whenever the enemy tempts me with joint pain. I healed from rheumatoid arthritis, and I know that. But that doesn't mean that the enemy doesn't still come back occasionally and try to tempt me with those symptoms. And as soon as he comes back and tempts me with those symptoms, I will literally say, no, that is not mine. That does not belong to me, because I have already been healed. And I resist. I resist it. I look at it just like it's a temptation to sin. And I say, absolutely not. So it really depends on what the symptom and the pain is and where you are in your healing journey. But for me, depending on what it is, if certain symptoms come back that were here 4 years ago that I've already healed from, it's like, no, I resist that, because that is a temptation and I am not accepting it. I am not ever accepting that ever again. It does not belong to me. And so I resist it. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. And literally, I was dealing with this yesterday where I had a pain in one of my wrists. And it was like, are you kidding me? No, I am not accepting this. And, instead of going, oh, I can't move my hand this way, I can't move my wrist this way or whatever, I started shaking it really hard. It was like, no. And at first, the first couple of times that I was shaking it, it hurt more, because that's where the pain was. But then it was like, I kept shaking it and saying, absolutely not, this is not mine. And it went away. Now, I'm not saying that that's always going to work. Use whatever works for you, but you can use all of these and figure out, okay, what's going to be best for me in this situation. So I hope you find it helpful.